All right, Aftershocks Tremors, we're back here. Matt Hartnett, Chris Aiken with you guys. Chris, what's going on, man? Good to see you as always. How you doing?
I am good, man. How you been?
Been really good, man. I'm glad we could do another one of these. For a while there, it looked like we might not be able to do one. uh, I mean, we obviously did one back in August. We got this back on track back then, and then of course there was a detour for a while there. Obviously, as most people know who listen to the network and listen to the show, you got COVID. You were hospitalized, and it was a tough battle you went through. So I'm just glad that we can, continue to do this. I'm glad you're now alive and well, and you're getting better and better by the day. And so it's just great to see you back on here, and I'm glad we could do this again, man.
Well, I had more metal to talk about, so I wasn't going to let something stupid like COVID take me out. No way.
It's all about the metal.
It sucked, dude. There ain't no lying about that. It fucking sucked being that sick. And I've told you this off air. I've never been that sick before, like sick. You know, I've been through my stuff like everybody else, but nothing like that. And I advise everybody, stay the hell away from anybody that has COVID, because my God, you do not want it. Ooh.
Yeah.
But all better. Took me, 5-6 weeks actually to get where I feel like even now. I mean, it's been 5-6 weeks out, I guess, at this point, and I'm still at like a steady 90%. I feel good. Okay. I actually went out this week and had a few drinks with the girl.
Nice.
So, so needless to say, I'm back.
So you're back.
Aiken again. That's for
sure.
You're
back. You're going out drinking with a girl. You're back. It's Chris Aiken's back, everybody.
But I will say the weird thing about it was getting in and out of the bar that we went to. Like I went in the bar and I'm like, I'm breathing all hard for 5 minutes, and same with coming out. There's still that lingering thing, but there's so many people that are dying from this shit. I'm not one of them. I'm one of the very few that's been hospitalized and, in really bad shape. So good for me. And, I can't complain. There's no use complaining about it.
Sure, man. Yeah, but like I said, it's tough, man. Obviously with COVID, we're seeing, speaking of COVID, obviously there's so many, because of it, tours are being canceled again, shows are getting canceled. So, it's still out there, obviously. And but like I said, we're glad obviously that you're healthy now and on the mend for the most part. You said you're about 90%, so that's great. And I'm glad we could do this again. And just glad to see you back doing what you do best, talking metal and talking lots of shit, right?
Yep, that's it, man. That's what I was born to do, run my mouth.
Awesome, man. Well, obviously, too, CMS network, a lot of changes are happening, things getting kind of muzzled around a little bit. Obviously, things are still going well with the network, but obviously a couple of things new that I guess we just want to talk to the listeners about.
Sure.
Obviously, the first thing is Shockwave Skull Sessions with Bob Nalbandian. Bob, as we know, he's now working on a new project. We can't really say yet, but he's working on it. It's going to be really cool. Everyone's going to be happy. Whoever was fans of Bob and his previous documentaries and all the work he's done. So Skull Sessions is going to be on hiatus, for quite a while. I mean, this is probably going to take, I'm assuming, we don't know how long, but probably
at least a year, I would think.
Yeah, a year to 2 years, I would think, to get this his documentary going. So, for the Skull Sessions fans out there, they're just going to have to either listen to the old episodes or just kind of, just listen to more and watch more Aftershocks, CMS, Talking to Infinity, and Poppett's Corner.
Yeah. Well, and for people that are fans of it, we're not. I mean, there's no falling out between us and Bob. Let me put that out there first, because people will immediately start thinking that we're putting a good spin on something. It's not like that at all. We're all good. To the level that we're not even taking the Skull Sessions off the website, off of CMSPN, or the Skull Sessions page is still up there. All the videos are still up on Rumble and YouTube and wherever you see the videos. The same with the podcast. We're we got to respect when any of us have to go make money. That's
Yes.
just the bottom line to it. As much
Mhm.
as all of us would love to say, yeah, this is what we do for a job, man. We just
Sure.
interview the rock stars.
If
No,
only.
no, this is the fuck around time after we go make our money.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
Bob is out there making his money, and unlike the rest of us, Bob gets to do really cool stuff to make his money.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Bob is when you guys hear what Bob's doing, you guys will be like, "Yeah, that's cool. Can't wait to buy it." Same as with all the inside metal stuff and the band versus brand. They've all been great. So this one I have no doubt will be great as well. And yeah, Skull Sessions will be back, or maybe Bob does one every 6 months or something, which will make it like a
Mhm.
special treat. But
Mhm.
whatever he decides to do at that point, it'll be on the CMS network. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
but good for him, and I'm happy for him personally. That he's got this opportunity because he seemed. I don't know if you think this, but it seemed like he was ready for another project.
Yeah, I mean, it's been I mean, unfortunately, with the Bay Area Godfathers that he did both parts, I mean, it's a film that our our lovely co-host here, Mr. Chris Aiken, starred in, and, unfortunately, with COVID hitting, that just put sort of it's really unfortunate what happened with that whole thing. There was this big, screening that was gonna happen out here in the Bay Area. You would have
Yeah,
come out for it. And there's gonna be a whole bunch of musicians and industry people coming to see it, and that hit right I mean, pretty much that was coming out like a week after COVID,
yeah,
the lockdown happened. So because of that, it never really got the push and the buzz and just that, just the when you release something, I mean, there's always that, the big excitement, that
hmm,
whether it's an album or anything you're putting out artistically. And there was all this stuff planned, and all of a sudden that hit, and it just kind of got squashed. And then, of
yeah,
course, it's never, Bob tried to, they did do a screening for the second part about a week or so ago up here in the Bay
right,
Area, a little place in Vallejo up here in the Northern California. But obviously, it's not like it would have been a couple years ago when there was planned
yeah,
to do that in San Francisco. But yeah, so great movies. If anyone hasn't seen those yet, both are great documentaries. Part one and part two, Barry Godfathers. Definitely check those out. Obviously, Bob's done Band vs. Brand. He's got all the Inside LA Metal series. So, like you
right,
said, it was just a matter of time that he was going to do something else. And this is probably going to be his biggest project to date, which is great. So yeah, he definitely, I think, was kind of ready to do another one. I'm glad he is because he's great at
yeah.
what he does. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely, man. No, I can't wait till now. I want a year to go by, 2 years to go by, so I can see this thing because I just know
uh-huh.
it's going to be cool. And but good on Bob. And just to reiterate, no bad blood. So don't send me any emails, people, or messages or whatever. Said, what's the real scoop behind
Yeah,
you guys and Bob,
right.
dude? I promise you, I will get that one. It it,
I'm
it
sure you
happens.
will.
It happens every time there's any kind of a change with any. Same thing happened with Toomey the minute
Mhm.
Toomey went over to Knotfest. How many of those did I read to you that were like,
I
"What's
know.
really going on,
What's going
man?
on? Yeah.
Fuck that guy, asshole." It's like,
Uh,
dude, people do again, you gotta make your money.
yeah.
That was the same thing with Toomey. He got offered a lot of money to do what he
Mhm.
was doing here. We were like,
Exactly.
"Bro, go take care of your family, man."
Absolutely. You know what I
You
mean?
know?
This is, and it's hard these days, obviously, to get an opportunity like that to go make
Yeah.
money in music.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you get something like that, yeah, I mean, like I said, everyone's got to take that opportunity. You got to run with it. And yeah, like you said, Jimmy did it. Bob's, doing it.
Yeah.
And like you said, he'll, I'm sure Skull Sessions, whenever the time is right, whenever he's done with everything and he's got free time again, it'll
Yeah.
be back, and like you said,
Absolutely.
and I'm sure he'll do an episode here or there,
Sure.
the special treat episodes for the
Yeah.
fans as well. Exactly.
And what'll
Yeah.
be cool too is when he comes back, then he'll have a lot
To
of new
talk about.
stuff to talk about as well from doing this project. So it, it's all good. It's a good thing. That's really the bottom line to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then also on CMS Network. So Tremors now, this is going to be a weekly thing we're going to start doing,
Mhm.
which is good. I mean, we've always, one of the things that I was talking about with you, Chris, obviously, was when I was looking on heavy metal television and I was looking at the Aftershocks TV channel, and I would watch those episodes we did, the live Tremors ones, and,
Mhm.
and I remember just being like, man, I really missed doing it. I thought that was a lot of fun,
Sure.
and not so much just the interviews, but just us talking music.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so that was the one thing we talked about was like, hey, why don't we add some of this, some commentary to our weekly interviews. So this way, we're not just putting out interviews. We've also are talking about some other stuff too, in case people maybe, aren't into a band we're interviewing, or maybe just prefer to hear. I mean, everyone does it. Everyone loves to hear you talk. We know that because you've been doing it for
Right.
so long, and you've got, obviously with the CMS, you've got such a huge, listenership and following. So, we just decided, yeah, you know what, we love talking about music and just shooting shit. So we're gonna go back, put out a weekly Tremors episode every week. They're gonna come out Mondays, and yeah, so I'm really excited to do this. This is something that we've been looking forward to doing for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is this, at least on my side, is I wanted to do, and I'm sure we'll talk about the change that we're making to Aftershocks as a whole, but the combination of the change and you and I doing commentary gives me a chance to talk about stuff that a lot of people do email me about or message about that I don't really get a chance to do, which is to talk about stuff other than Doc and Rat, LA Guns, COVID, or pussy. The five staples of the CMS.
Yeah.
I get to talk about music that is not old. I get to talk about fresh bands and hot bands and maybe not hot bands. Most of these are really not gonna be huge name stuff. We're still gonna do. I'm still gonna do that stuff, but we're gonna break it up so that it's it's two different elements. And for those of you that like to hear me or Matt or both talk about music that's not classic 80s, hair band stuff, this is going to be your shot. This is going to be where we do it. So it's actually going to be like a fresh new deal and not just a rehash of other stuff.
Exactly. And as you mentioned, you're going to be interviewing, one of the things we always talked about when we started the show was we wanted it, because we were both on shows that focused on the 80s music, as you just said, we wanted to focus more on some recent music or just really things from maybe the 90s and above.
Right.
But then we obviously during COVID, we had opportunities to talk to, as many, all these artists, and a lot of them happened to be 80s artists. And it was great doing it. I mean, I enjoyed it so much. But then we also decided, you know what, maybe we need to put some more focus in one area in terms of we can still do those 80s interviews, which is something that's obviously in your wheelhouse. You've been doing that for a long time. And as well as maybe doing something also where we're focused on newer bands or bands that were, after the 80s. And so, so going forward, you're going to be doing interviews with those musicians and people in the industry. And then I'll, for Tremors, I'm going to be interviewing some of the newer bands, some of the stoner, doom, thrash, 90s, grunge, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to still have everything. We're just going to kind of separate a little bit so that also, since we're still going to put out 2 a week, right? Mondays, we're going to have Aftershocks Tremors, what we're doing right now. And then, of course, on Thursdays is when we'll have probably one of those interviews that you're going to do.
The CMS music
CMS
stuff,
music.
Right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of a cool break. And the unique thing is and this is kind of behind the curtain shit, but that really plays better for both of us because the scheduling is quite the problem.
Yes.
The scheduling is, you have a day job. I don't have a day job, but I'm usually busy a lot of nights. So it's like, okay, this is going to free us up to do a lot more stuff because I can do the day stuff, which is generally these old guys that go to bed at 10:30 and, and most of the bands on Tremors or on Aftershocks are stoner guys that wake up at 8:00 at night.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's kind of a perfect storm. So it's going to be cool. And you're still going to get, bottom line is if you want to discover new bands, you'll discover them on Monday. If you want to hear what the old bands are still doing, you'll find them on Thursday. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So yeah, we're shaking things up, dude. I got other things I haven't even told you about. That's not even on the list.
Really?
Yeah. I just demoed this tonight. Actually, was the first night of it with the Talking Into Infinity thing.
Okay.
But we are now able to, as we go forward, broadcast the live shows live on Heavy Metal Television.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I tested it tonight and it works perfectly it worked perfectly with Talking Into Infinity. So going forward, any of your live shows, which will be Tremors. I would imagine we'll get the Tremors going live, and it'll be Talking into Infinity, and it'll be Classic Metal Show. They will be live on Heavy Metal Television. So
fantastic.
So, it's just another element. And, when we're done here tonight, I'm going to put my programming hat on and see if I can't figure out how to take the live element of this stuff now and put it on the Roku and on the Amazon sticks.
Wow, nice. That'd be even better. Yeah, this is good. Wow.
I'm really working, now that I'm back healthy again and I can think straight, I'm actually getting back involved with really trying to get the push now, so that when we hit the new year a lot more like a TV station than we are now. Right now we're I don't know what you'd call it. Would you say we're in transition between being a podcast and being a video thing? And by the time we get there, we'll be ready to transition into a full-blown TV thing, complete with live shows and pre-recorded music, and basically trying to rebuild in our own mold something similar to the classic MTV Headbangers Ball that everybody claims they missed, or they do miss. So so if you miss heavy or MTV Headbangers Ball and you want to try something new with newer stuff and different music, and not all old stuff, a lot of brand new bands and some of the old stuff to keep it fresh, but with shows and commentary and everything else, heavymetaltelevision.net.com, heavymetaltv.com. It's all there, and I'm adding it everywhere. So tune in, you fucks.
Oh yeah, that's right. Tune in. And what's great about that too, Chris, is that we were discussing a little bit, but we talk about this stuff all the time, but I think that's a great thing also, because right now I think music is going through a real tough time.
Oh yeah.
It obviously went through a tough time during COVID. We all know that bands couldn't tour, but it also gave, bands time to write more. It gave them time to spend time with their families and have a break, stuff that they couldn't probably do, ever before, because they were always on the road. We've heard from a lot of, musicians that said, it was a blessing in disguise because they were able to spend time with their kids. And so there were some positives in the beginning. There's some, I would say positive, but there was definitely some, some silver linings in there. And
sure.
But now it's different because it came back, live music, and everyone's kind of getting, geared up again, getting excited. And it was just a big tease. And then now it's just boom, going right back. I mean, all these shows and tours are getting canceled. I mean, on a daily, on a daily occurrence. So I think what's good about having the Heavy Metal Television with the live stuff, I mean, look, it's going to give at least metal fans, and maybe the musicians will be, they'll want to come on, I think, because there's nothing else going on. So it gives something, I think, in a period right now where we're going to go through now a real, I think, depressive. I mean, I'm not trying to yell negative here, but
sure,
just psychologically to this up and down, like, yeah, we're coming back. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. I mean, it's really, I think, it's messing with people's heads. I'm sure there's people who are probably thinking, you know what? Do I even want to be in this business anymore because of this?
Well, dude, how many bands have we seen in the last 4 months have a member quit?
I know, yeah.
Tons. I mean, more than I can ever think of just in the last 4 months. It's and it's not the huge bands, obviously, but it's the smaller bands that can't afford to be off work anymore.
Exactly.
That have had to go and get jobs. And now it's okay, well, we're going to go back on tour. And, guy in third tier band bass players I'm gonna keep fixing roofs and making my money. I like having food instead of being on a bus or in a minivan or whatever. There's a lot of that going on. We're definitely seeing a big change in at least on the rock scene, where it's definitely when the bands are finally able to play fully. I think you're going to see a lot of bands that don't look the same way as when we last saw them.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I agree. Another thing too is, you've got this thing where, vinyl records are now backlogged for a year, because of a lot of the stuff that's going on with the shipping across the world right now, all that madness. And so vinyl records are just not available.
Right.
And so, and we're talking about some pretty decent sized labels here that I saw putting stuff out. Sorry, people, it's going to be probably right now, there's a 10 to 11 month backlog on getting these vinyls pressed up, manufactured. So on top of shows being canceled, you figure, okay, I can't go see a band live. Well, I can maybe buy some vinyl. That's like, the best. I mean, it depends, it's an opinionated thing, but a lot of people think that's the best way to listen to music. It's the closest thing to hearing live music as there is. So, because it's not all compressed digitally. And even now that they can't listen to
Yeah.
because they're not being manufactured.
Dude,
So,
it's such a big problem, especially again, I'll go back to the small bands and I'll give you an exact example. It's funny you brought this up because this just happened, or this was just a conversation I had 2 days ago. I was talking to Sam Nyman, who's the lead singer of the band Manimal, which by the way, if you haven't heard that Armageddon record, that is the album of the year. I don't care what anybody says. That is the best metal album of the year.
Check that out. I haven't heard it yet. Okay.
But so I'm talking to him, and they literally today they released their 5th video from the album. Wow. And the album only has, I think, 11 tracks on it or 12 or something,
Wow, damn.
and they released 5. So I asked him, I said, well, why are you releasing so many videos? You're kind of putting out the whole record, ahead of the record.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, man, we were supposed to release this album in March, but they decided to wait for the vinyl. So March became May, became August, became now December 3rd.
Damn.
Which,
almost a year.
And he doesn't have the vinyls yet. It may, after all that waiting, it may come out without vinyl anyway.
Wow. Damn.
And I think, believe me, I don't think he's the only one. I think that's everybody in the industry right now.
It's everybody. Yep.
And that sucks. I mean,
well, once again, that's another product that these bands could sell to stay alive that they can't sell now.
Yeah.
So really, music. I mean, people, I guess, do still buy CDs. I'm starting to see that, but not as much as vinyl. Vinyl's right now, I think, the number one selling, musical product. But now you're looking at it as like, okay, so how can they make money? T-shirts. That's pretty much it. And it's just, like I said, I don't want to turn this into a very negative and depressing segment here, but it is important just to talk about this stuff because it's like, I mean, what now? What's going to happen now? It's like, it's right back to that. No one knows. Like that right when the pandemic hit, that was the whole thing. Everyone's like, I don't know. We're just gonna have to go with the flow. But like I said, people were using the time wisely to do some other things, record, whatever. Now it's right back to where it was, and it's just got to be so deflating. Waiting that time, coming back and going back, to square one now and so it's sort of like, what's that question? Is what's next? I mean, are we just? I don't know.
I honestly. And the other aspect to this that we're not talking about, but I've had one guy say it to me. I read it again on Brave Words, I think, today or yesterday or whatever. The bands themselves that are out there touring, not having any fun because of all the restrictions. I know wherever it was that I read it, Brave Words, Blabbermouth, wherever it was, Slash was talking about how miserable they were on the tour because they never left the hotel. Came from the hotel to the stage, played, got off the stage, went back to the hotel. No meets, not even meeting with promoters or anything.
There's no backstage,
just that. And I'm sure you saw, my interview with Kevin Martin from Candlebox. He said to me, this is the first time I've ever gone out on the road and it felt like a job. No fun. Just no fun. He said it felt like a job, like he was just going to work, punching a clock. Playing his 15 songs,
and that's it.
Getting
his
weekly check. Yeah. Back on the bus. That's going to deflate a lot of people.
No, you're right. And I mean, and when you look at, I guess you're a musician, you're looking out and everyone's wearing masks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that's not, and we've discussed about this before about, would you go to a show and wear a mask or, show a vaccination card, whatever it is, whatever state you live in. The good thing is there are some states. Texas is a state that's fully open. Florida. We've interviewed some bands from these states, and they're like, yeah, everything's good here, but same with them. They don't just want to play locally. They do that all the time. They want to get out there, and but like you said, I mean, me personally, I just can't do it. It's just because it's again, you're taking away the fun of it. I can't sit there. Pull my mask down, take a sip of beer, put it back on. I'm wearing a mask all day at work. The last thing I want to do is wear a mask when I'm going out watching a show. It's just not. It's not the real thing. It's just not.
nobody wants to have a medical procedure to go fucking have fun.
See show exactly.
It's just
I know.
Yeah. It's like I don't want to show my proof of medical, whatever capitulation to get into a place. I don't want to wear a mask while I'm there. What's next? Wearing an oxygen mask if I get sweaty? I mean, what the hell, man? It's like it's supposed to be hot and sweaty and banging into people, and I'm starting to wonder if we're going to see a resurgence on the live streams.
Well, I mean, once again, this is why I think you're going to see bands who are either going to go, you know what, we're gonna take a long break. We're just gonna, you said, we're gonna work. We're gonna spend time with our families and friends, whatever they're gonna do. Then there's those artists and musicians and bands that are going to say, well, this is all I know. This is who I am. This is what I do. I'm just going to have to do what I can do, which, like you said, live streams. I mean, yes, I know it's not the best. Like, for instance, this band High Desert Queen, they had one the other day for their record release party. And, it was cool. Them on the stage, they played well, but, the volume, because they did, it wasn't like a whole super professionally recorded thing.
Right.
And it's just not the same experience. But like I said, some do put it together. It's better than nothing. I mean, I guess that's all I can say. It's better than nothing, especially if it's a band you really like. But if you're a new band, I mean, are you really going to attract fans by a live stream when people don't really know you that well?
Yeah,
probably not.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
I mean, the one thing that I think could, and by no means am I saying, yeah, live streams, that's the way to go. I'm not saying that at all. That's, that's clearly, if there's nothing else to do, a live stream is an option. But there's a way bands could do it and still make money if they want to. And it's going to take work. And it's not going to be something for the smaller guys. It's definitely going to be the Seven Dust, Exodus, Testament, Metallica, from Seven Dust level to Metallica level bands that could do something like this. What they need to do, and I'm going to get a little techie here, but not too much. If they did almost like a residency, rent a club for 30 days or something, and announce a live stream type of a tour. Sell the tickets for like $50-$60 a ticket. Everybody that gets it gets a package, gets a specific t-shirt and a poster and whatever, and then set each broadcast up for like geolocated, so that if you're not in the state of California, you can't tune in. And this would be like the California date, and then have a state of Nevada one. Do that and make it an exclusive, just like right now when they come to town. You've seen shows out of town, right?
Yes, of course.
When you go see a show out of town and they go, "Hello, Houston," or something, you as the out of town guy are like, ugh.
You're not going to go, yeah.
No, you're just like, oh, fuck Houston, man. What about San Diego or whatever? It's like, say my town, damn it. So if they did something like that and they made merch that made sense for their town, poster that made sense for, Ohio's event or something that's unique, they could make their money. They could add, and then, even people that don't tune in a live stream could still buy the poster or something. Sure. And they could make their money, that way if they, because the real problem is, as I understand it anyway, is twofold. Number one, if they get sick, they almost come back with no money, or, if they have to cancel 3 to 5 shows, the small bands are done. Yeah. The bands that aren't the Rolling Stones or Guns N' Roses or Metallica, they're toast. They're coming back at a loss. So they can't afford to do that. And then the other thing that I've heard is a big problem is right when COVID first took everything out, Live Nation and and what, AEG or whatever, put those new deposits on them, to where if a show's canceled, they still don't get back their deposit.
Their deposit, yeah.
Or they have to pay, what was it? They have to pay back twice the deposit or something. It's some crazy thing. Like if a show is canceled because of COVID, then they have to pay back the deposit plus something. Like they have to pay a penalty for somebody in the band getting sick at one of their venues that, more than likely that the COVID came in through the door, either as a concert goer or a stage hand or somebody that's hired by Live Nation or AEG. But that's, that's how AEG's protecting themselves, or Live Nation anyway is protecting themselves. So if you're a band that's not making buku money, you get let's say a band like Testament. They probably make 10 grand a night. If a band like Testament's making 10 grand a night, they get 5 grand as a deposit. Let's say that they have to cancel because Chuck Billy gets sick. Now they got to pay back $750 and lose $2,500 on that show.
That show, yeah.
Times 5, they just lost $12,000. Well, they're coming home broke.
Yeah.
That means they lost more than a show's money.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I think one of the things, I was talking to a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Tanner Poppet, and he made a good statement. He was saying, it's the one thing this is going to do is going to make the music business look at itself in the mirror.
Sure.
And he's right. And he says, he's like, it's about time because, like I said, we're talking about Live Nation, AEG, it's like, once again, all this big money, the big conglomerate shit in the music business. Now, like I said, I get it with the bigger bands, there is an opportunity here. And that's the thing. Just like, I think bands got to look at it as like, look, this isn't what everyone else is quitting. Everyone else is taking breaks. This is their time to go out there and continue to be hungry. I know they can't go out there, but they can go out there through this and do a million. I mean, like I said, there's 1,000,001 podcasts now out there, as we've seen just grow since COVID. So they're not going anywhere now since live music's still not back. They're still there. They're still growing. You're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to go on all these podcasts. You're going to have to just basically get real aggressive and really start doing it once again. Why you got involved in the begin with this stuff is for the love of it. It's for the passion of the music. It's for, people hearing your music and saying, oh, this shit's the best. I mean, that's got to make, I don't care how big of a musician you are, whenever you've got that reaction, people love your shit. That's got to make you feel so good. So it's sort of like it's going back to like bare bones basics. You know what I mean? From back in, I mean, if you look at it that way, it could like reset a lot of things in the music business that's been so fucked up for so long.
And the other thing it's gonna do too is to me as a positive thing. I know to some people they'll look at it as a terribly negative thing. It's gonna push these old bands out of the way because the old bands, by and large, not every one of them, but the bulk of them are so ingrained in doing it the old-fashioned way.
Old-fashioned way, exactly.
And they're the ones that are still complaining about illegal downloading and shit. Exactly. That shit is 10 years past being relevant, but you still see it pop up in some band that was popular in 1987 saying, well, if it wasn't for illegal downloading, we'd be better. No, you wouldn't. There's no illegal downloading. I'm not gonna say there's none, but there's very little that's impacting anybody now. It's all fucking free online anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's gonna push these old bands out of the way.
Yeah.
Because these new bands, they don't know nothing about that. They don't even know they don't have it ingrained in their head that they have to make music to make money. To them, they have to make music so they have something to play so they can make money. They already have a different mindset, just not a platform to do it. And the platform is clogged up by the old bands.
Yep. And the old bands, those guys, they don't know shit about technology. They know it. They admit it all the time. Well, these new bands, these young guys know everything about it. Yeah. They're so social media savvy. They're on their phones 24 fucking 7, which is where you really have to be in a way, to really, get, just to really push your band, you got to get on there and get aggressive. Some bands are just phenomenal at it. Some bands are terrible, but all the new bands, they know. I mean, they know the technology. They know the social media. They know how to work it. They enjoy it because that's how they communicate with each other. They've grown up communicating with each other that way. So yeah, they're the ones that can really benefit from this opportunity. This is, like you said, it's a great point. It's an opportunity to get the old farts out of the way. Yeah. And these up and coming musicians, it's their time if they just grab the bull by the horn and really just. And I think they are, because like I said, they don't know nothing else, especially if a band, started, like for instance, that band High Desert Queen, they started during basically the pandemic, right before it, so they're pretty much a brand new band that really has honed their chops through this whole pandemic. They don't know anything else. So it's like, this is a great way for those kind of bands to just be like, you can make your way, I mean, another thing we were talking about, I mean, we interviewed that band Crysis last week,
Love them.
just, great band. And I love what they did. They put out an EP, 6 songs, I believe it is, and they made a video for each song where it's basically like a short movie.
Right.
I mean, once again, creativity, thinking outside the box, doing something different like that. That is definitely going to go a long way. I mean, we watch that; it's funny, it's humorous. It's definitely going to get you into. That's just a great. I thought they just did a phenomenal job of marketing themselves that way by using those strategies.
Let's talk about that band for a minute, because they
Let's do
might
it.
be the marketing kings of anybody.
You ain't
They
kidding.
didn't only make a video for everything to make a short movie. They also, the name of the EP is called the Pizza EP. They designed a pizza box. Then they marketed it to where now they are actually selling pizza.
Pizzas, that's crazy.
They're making what, Kreissig's Pizza
Yes.
that they're selling around. Where were they from? Like Spain?
From
or
Spain,
somewhere?
they're from Spain, Barcelona. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have pizza shops selling Kreissig's Pizza, and and this is all from an idea because the kid used to sell pizza before he got in his band.
Yeah.
And I mean, just amazing but that's how it is today. I mean, how many bands out there are selling coffee or hot sauce or beer or whatever, and they put out a press release for it, and that's the end of it. They're not committed to it. They don't have any real connection to it. This little band that nobody's really heard of yet, this Kreissig's band, kick-ass band. I mean, the music's great. I'll sell that to anybody. That's fantastic. But on top of it, these guys are hungry. They're out there really hustling. That's going to be the way that rock music and underground music is going to be seen now. It's not going to be, hey, man, I was out last night and I saw this band in front of Kiss and, man, they were killer. That day is done.
That day is done. Yep.
That day, every band that opens for, I mean, what does Kiss have? They have a fucking painter that opens for them.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
They have a paint. And then, me and you always joke about it off the air about Metallica. Metallica hasn't brought out a relevant underground unheard band since
metal band.
Metal band. And how long? It's been decades.
Exactly. Was it Cage the Elephant? I think might have been one of the last bands they had took out with them. Yeah. And
if it is a metal band, it's somebody that's way too super established. It's like Lamb of God.
Exactly. Yep.
It's never Kreissig's. It's never. The best they would do now is like Greta Van Fleet or something. They would say, well, that's one people have, because those guys are clueless in their ivory towers. But
exactly.
they're not part of the scene anymore. The scene, I've had this conversation with so many of these bands, and they all kind of say the same thing. If the old guard's not going to take care of us, then it's up to us to take care of us.
Yeah.
And there's so many. I want to punch, and I do mean just literally rear back and hit somebody until my knuckles break every time they say, there's nothing good coming out.
I know, man. That drives me nuts.
Fucking bullshit.
There's tons of good shit out there, man. Tons.
I mean, dude, how many great bands have we interviewed in the last, I don't know, 3-4 months? Just in the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, Artusia, Pyrosaint, Kreissig's, Artifice. I mean, these are all bands that I would tell anybody to buy. Anybody that likes a certain, and nobody's heard of them. I guarantee you. High Desert Queen, another one. People don't know these names, and they're just like, well, they must suck because I haven't heard of them.
Exactly.
Well, bullshit. Where would you have heard of them? There's no radio to play them. There's no real TV to play them. There's 6,000 podcasts. Every one of them is like, well, I can interview Kreissig's or I can interview Donnie V. Well, I'll take Donnie V because he has more old fans. No, you're still going to get the same fucking 100 downloads. So interview the smaller band.
Exactly.
Help them out. But people don't want to do that. They settle in on the. It's why we're doing what we're doing with Aftershocks. It's why we're going to split Aftershocks off to give these guys a fair shot on a platform that also does feature the big stuff, so that they can, they can get their due. Exactly. Guts, who we're gonna, I think we're attaching to this one that we talked to. People don't know. People do not know this band Guts. I would say of our audience, 7 of every 10 would like Guts.
Yeah.
7
exactly. Yeah.
So,
well, if they gave him a chance, that's the thing.
Well, that's it. Is if you saw, I'll tell you, I'm just being as honest as I can here. The way the band spells their name is Guhts. If I just saw that name, if it passed me on Spotify or whatever, there is a 0% chance I click on that.
But you click on it. I know. you
You know,
know?
that's the band's fault. The band should, just what was the name of this band? I saw a band yesterday. It might be the all-timer for names that just the band name, they're a modern rock band, and
Mhm.
just the name, I'll tell you the name. I just found it because I texted it to Toomey. I just texted it to him with just the message of this band, Dead on Arrival. Now,
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you honestly, I have not heard a note of it, even though I have the album.
Okay.
Haven't heard a note. Now, you tell me that you would ever listen to this band. Here's the name: As Within, So Without.
Oh, good lord, man. Those, those names, like, what was the other one that was out years ago? And you'll know it's by the Trail of the Dead. These kind of names of these
Yeah.
bands. I mean, we could spend a whole segment on that
Oh,
itself,
I
man, with
know,
these terrible names,
but
Yeah,
it's my
that's
point is,
horrible.
is going back to what we're talking about. You know, the bands, a lot of the bands do have a lot better sense of marketing, and
Mhm.
the ones that don't, the problem we do have right now is that anybody with a guitar and a computer can make a record.
Mhm.
The ones that don't know how to market, like As Within, So Without, they're done.
Yeah,
They're
man.
done. Who's gonna click on that?
Not me. I mean, and listen, and I'm very open minded. I usually don't even
I
care
am
too much
too.
about bands, but you're right. When I hear a name like that, it has like a, I don't know, it sounds a little pretentious, if you want to say, maybe.
It is.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
here's a picture of the band to go with As Within, No Without.
Yeah.
Are
Like you
you
said,
clicking on that?
I'm skipping right over it. Exactly.
Skipping
You know what
right
I
over
mean?
it. Now
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I so far have skipped right over it.
Okay. So you haven't heard it. Okay.
No, not at all. They might be the best band in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They might be the greatest band I'm never gonna hear. Because I can promise you, I'm
Mm-hmm.
never gonna
To listen
hear
to them.
As
Yeah.
Within, No
Mm-hmm.
Without, or whatever. So
Yeah.
Without. I'm never gonna hear it.
Yeah. I know.
It's just
It's
ridiculous.
terrible. I know. I know, but like getting back to what we were saying, I mean, yeah, it is though the time. This is the time for
Mhm.
the small bands.
It is.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna have those fans out there who are gonna say, like you said, you brought it up. Oh, I haven't heard them before. Well, they must not be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like which is like the most narrow-minded thinking I can
Mhm.
that there's out there. But this is their time. I mean, there are, like I said, there are people because of those older bands, they're waiting to be on tour. They're waiting, even if they do a live stream,
Yeah.
they're charging a lot of money. You know what I
Sure.
mean? It's like these live streams should not be costing a lot of money. Like I remember Clutch did when it was like $5 or $10.
Yeah, which is
That's
great.
that's fine. I'll pay $10 exactly
Mhm.
because it's not the real deal. But if you're trying to charge $30
Yeah, that's
for
nuts.
a live stream, so what you can have it up close and they can tell story. And that's the thing too. They get intimate. Like I said, I'm going to bring up Clutch
Yeah.
again. When they did it last year, that to me is probably the best live stream I've seen because they did it in their big practice room,
Mhm.
which is a cool. They got a real cool practice room. They played a lot of songs they normally don't play. Like they went back to their old catalog, so
Sure.
they played those songs, which is great. And they in between songs, they would tell stories about the songs. Oh, this came
Mhm.
from when we did this. I mean, that's something that you can't necessarily usually do when you're on stage at a club when you've only got say an hour and a half or 2 hours to go
Right.
and you got to get out by a certain time. You can take your time, get intimate with the fans on live
Mhm.
stream, let them chime in, maybe take some questions, which I've seen some
Sure.
bands do, which is great. I mean, that's how you're going to retain the fans and keep them coming back.
Mhm.
If you're just going to be like, oh, here, it's $30, pay to watch us live. Nice to see you. We're out. Not going to work. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
not a live setting. And a lot of bands, older bands are lazy. They don't want to do that.
Right.
It's going to be those younger, hungrier bands.
Mhm.
This is their chance to really say, you know what, out with the old guard and with the new.
Exactly.
We're here and it's our time now. I mean, it really is. I mean, like you said, yes, they're gonna have to bust their ass. It's gonna be it's gonna take definitely a lot of work to do it.
Yeah.
But the way these kids know social media, that's really how it starts anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's just like it's really their time. It really is
Yeah. And
if they
and
step it
and
up.
as far as our side of it, the promotional side of it,
Hmm.
and I don't only mean us, I mean everybody.
Hmm.
Everybody needs to take a stand on that as well. Everybody needs to
Hmm.
promote these underground bands. You
Hmm.
cannot. First of all, if and I'm not only speaking for us, I'm going to talk podcast wide
Hmm.
across the board. Other than a celebrity doing a podcast, if
Hmm.
you're Joe Nobody and you're doing a podcast, interviews do not generate clicks. They don't.
Yeah, I know they don't.
I don't care who you're interviewing. I just did the first interview with David Ellefson since the jerk off thing.
Yeah.
First thing.
Great interview too. Yeah.
Thank you. But 2,000 plays on YouTube. Now that's a decent amount of play, but it's 2,000.
Sure.
Megadeth has played in front of 20 million.
Yeah.
And I got 2,000 clicks on the first interview, and it's on every news site as the first interview David Ellefson does since the sex scandal. 2,000 interviews don't draw tons of attention. So go into it knowing that and mix it up some. Bring a new band to get their 400 new fans to hear them, and hopefully 40 of them will give it a listen. And the other thing, and it's something you and I just started doing, is it's not for everybody, but if you are a Spotify user and you listen to our podcast on Spotify, Spotify has now made it that we can put at least song samples at the beginning and end of each interview.
Yep.
So when we do a band like Guts or like Chrysix or whatever, we'll put a song at the beginning and a song at the end so that you can at least catch 30 seconds of it. And if you like it, click it and give the whole album a listen. None of that costs you anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything, and you can discover so much great music. And, again, can't speak for everybody that has a podcast, but I can speak for me and you. And pretty much guarantee you, if one of us doesn't like it, if both of us don't like it, that interview ain't happening. That's a guarantee. Yeah. But if one of us likes it and one of us doesn't, the one that likes it's probably going to do the interview.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're going to approach it from a standpoint of we like the music. We're not going to bring you just, hey, here's a horseshit band, but they're a band.
Never heard of. Yeah. So listen to it. Exactly. Listen to the interview. Yeah. We're going to bring, like you said, bring samples. So it's like, you play a sample before the interviews happens. Okay, that piqued my interest. Let's listen to this band. Right. What are they about? Great. At the end, here's another sample. Now you got to go and check out the music, because if you like both samples and you're like, that's my kind of shit, you got to go check it out. And which is, like you said, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Spotify through Anchor right there. I mean, I think that's something that's been needed, because
it is.
You can't play music on these podcasts. And you're right. There's a bunch of other podcasts I'd listen to. I would listen to those interviews with no-name bands if I could listen to some music. But yeah, who's going to want to listen to a half-hour interview with a band you never heard of? You know what I mean? No one's going to want that. Yeah.
And the problem is a lot of podcasts used to put music in their podcasts.
Yeah.
Until about 2 years ago. And then 2 years ago, and I believe it was either Google or Spotify or maybe both cracked down on it.
Yeah, Apple did too.
And it was clearly not copyright infringement. It was guys playing 30, 40 seconds of clip. In the podcasts, and they were just getting zapped. They were getting their episodes zapped. So now, Spotify trying to build, and I know what they're doing. They're trying to build their own listenership back up on Spotify.
Sure, on Spotify, yeah.
But we'll take advantage of it as much as we can. I mean, as it stands right now, Spotify, they let us play some music clips. We're going to play those music clips.
Yeah.
Allegedly, in the next month or two, Spotify is going to let us put the full videos on Spotify.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a full video experience if you use Spotify you'll be able to see the videos. I'm thinking if they're letting the podcasters have video, I'm thinking they're going to put the videos on Spotify, and then you can have a full video experience on Spotify too. So, I mean, there's ways to hear the music. And before some of you judgmental people that are still, that still think that the only way a band could be good is if they're called Deep Purple and they had a hit in 1971, you're just wrong. Listen and I don't care what kind of music you like. If you liked nu metal, there's a bunch of bands making nu metal right now.
There is everything, man. Yeah.
The classic rocky stuff, if you liked Caius as an example, the one that you just interviewed sounds like a dead ringer for that stuff. That High Desert Queen.
High Desert Queen, yeah, sure.
It's right into that mix.
Right in that mix. Yep.
And we've interviewed a bunch of those bands. Witch Skull.
Witch
You like
Skull's
Black
another one.
Sabbath. If you like Black
Yep.
Sabbath, there's no way you
You'll
can't like
love
Witch
Witch Skull.
Skull.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
there's just tons of them out there. Joyous Wolf,
Mhm.
bands like that, or Rival Sons, or Dirty Honey, or and I know those
Mhm.
are a little more popular, but
Mhm.
the Dust Coda. If you like any of those bands I just listed, check
Yeah.
out the Dust Coda. That's another
Mhm.
band sounds just like that nobody's talking about.
Yeah,
It's
and just
great.
exactly, just because they're not opening for Metallica
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're not a great band, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I think it's one of those things too. You're not gonna change the old guard's listening habits. It's just not gonna
Oh.
happen. They're stuck in their ways.
Mhm.
You can encourage them, but they're not. I think it's really a certain age group, like around our age group, since technology was starting to come in around, around our age group, from your age to mine in that area. Yeah, I think our generation, that in that age group, is gonna be more receptive to check, because we grew up too. I watch MTV, or I would watch it,
Mhm.
or Headbangers Ball. I didn't watch Headbangers Ball because I wanted to hear, the Metallica video from 3 years ago. I
Yeah.
turned into it because I wanted to hear some new metal music
Yeah.
that I couldn't find anywhere else. It wasn't on
Mhm.
commercial radio. Maybe a college radio if you had that in your neighborhood, but I didn't really have that when I was real young. I didn't have any of
Right.
that. So where can I listen to? I had commercial radio. I had a Sunday night show that played metal,
Mhm.
every other week. I don't think it was every week. And then I had MTV. It had Bangers Ball. So that's why I listened to it.
Yeah.
And of course, listen, you're gonna have those listeners who they like their corner. They like, I'm a Metallica, Kiss, Guns N' Roses,
Yeah.
AC/DC fan, and that's what I listen to. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
But the ones who do like a little bit more of the underground stuff, or did like it,
Huh.
they're the ones that are gonna maybe have open minded to kind of go out there and maybe try to discover some new bands. But at the
Sure.
same time, like you said, it's like I was just thinking of a thought before. I wanted to say, like, for instance, now we're doing with heavy metal television. You said you're able to do it live now. We're able to do the
Right.
things live, the shows live. Well, any bands out there, it's a great opportunity. Maybe they can live stream their stuff through heavy metal television
Sure.
as
Of
well. You
course.
know, so it's another platform that heavy metal television is presenting for hungry bands.
Mhm.
I mean, once again, I think also metal has to once again rise from the grassroots sort of level thing. You know what I mean? It was always an underground type of music. It was
Right.
always, think about how it got big in the 80s, was because of the tape trading and the fanzines. It built up that buzz where
Mhm.
people were trading tapes, and it was fanzines that were throwing
Yeah.
mailing each other their fanzines from all over the world, from the UK to United States down to South
Yeah.
America. It was everywhere. So that's how it started. That's what made it so big. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's becoming mainstream.
Mhm.
I think that kind of stuff has to happen again. Obviously, you don't have to start mailing stuff
Yeah.
because we've got the internet, we've got technology, but it has to start with that. And like I said, I really think, if these younger bands can sort of bond with each other, when I was talking to High Desert Queen, I mean, it looks like that scene in Texas and Austin, that's what these bands are doing.
Sure.
And that's a great thing, because that's how it's got to start. You got to start with your local area, build up bonds with your bands, play shows together, help each other out. That's, I mean, think about back in the day. That's when there was scenes built with Seattle, or, what
Sure.
other cities. That's how it all came about. That's how, this music and that style of music became, it got notoriety across the globe because
Yeah.
of that. And it
Yep.
needs to kind of go back to that in some sort of capacity.
Yeah. Well, and
My opinion. Yeah.
it just needs to stop being competitive right now, because the
That's a good point.
competition it's
Yeah.
competition for nothing.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
no
Yeah.
there's no reason to be the best band that plays in front of 40 people
People. Yeah,
at a
exactly.
club.
Mhm.
First of all, the half the clubs ain't even open anymore. And second of all, what good does that do you? It's
Mhm.
better to make friends with. Look, as much as me and you will kind of goof on some of the bands that Tanner interviews, the peeling flesh or stuff like that every once in a while. I'll give it to the guy. He takes care of his boys,
He does.
and
Yeah.
and in the end, it's going to work out to where Madras never has a problem getting a gig
Oh,
ever,
no. Yeah.
because
Mhm.
even if they're not the headliner, he knows somebody. He could probably play every weekend if he wants to.
Yeah, he's grassroots. I mean, like, he just did a thing down in I saw in San Diego. It was like a San Diego's metal swap meet that
Yeah.
he did, which was I
Mhm.
thought, which is cool too, because right there, that's a community right there, right? Everyone's
Mhm.
going to a metal swap meet in San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, they're dedicated to this music, and it's their passion. And so you're building, like you said, he's building he's promoting his own band through it, but he's also building that community thing, which he's so good at doing, which he's done in Orange County. And I think what he's doing, like I said, and that's why I think it's got to start. I think it's, he's a younger guy. He's like 30 years old. He's been around forever, and his band's been around for a long time, but he's gotten on labels because of it, because he has those connections and has that communication with people in the community. He treats it that way. That, I think, is the way hopefully, I'm not saying it has to go, but hopefully it goes, back to that that way of bringing fans, artists, musicians together. You don't have to sound all cliche-ish, but that's it. Really, as simple as that. It's not rocket science. It really is. It has to come from a genuine place inside, people. And
And to be clear, it's never going back to, well, we're going to sign with this label and they're going to put $3 million
exactly.
behind it. That's done.
That's done.
Fun. And to be honest, that should be done because every one of those bands came back broke.
Broke. All their fans spent $20 to buy one of their discs or records, and spent money on shirts. And in the end, they were broke. So we got the music, but the band couldn't continue because they got fucking ripped off. So
and
it's
that's if you weren't one of the very few that became huge, the Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, Metallica, those types of bands. If you weren't one of them, if you were Metal Church,
Testament,
Dokken, Testament, if you were one of them bands, find me one of those guys that has two band members that will say, yeah, you know what? I made like $5 million and I'm living comfortably. Yeah, you won't find any. You know what you'll find? Yeah. You'll find them playing fucking Reggie's in Chicago, happy as hell that they could still get out there and play.
Sure.
So they can make their living.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of them, how many guys are out there right now that are in their 70s?
I know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
But you know why? Because none of them have any money.
They didn't have money. But once again, no, but metal was a passion thing. You know, I mean, it all stemmed from that, right? It was an outcast type of music. It was too fast. It was too much noise. People it's not technical enough because after the 70s and all the prog stuff, it was just like the expectations were so high. Punk came along, and that kind of set the standard for metal, I think, later on, because it's like, listen, you don't have to play, all these arpeggios and all these crazy, chord changes. You could you go out, play some simple chords, write some good lyrics that are catchy, that hit people's, hit people right where, it hits them right in the heart, right in the gut. And that's all it is. That's all it's about. That's how all that underground stuff got huge. That's how the Metallicas got huge. I mean, of course, you had to have some musical talent and ability.
Talent stuff. But, dude, how many of those bands, if we asked them, and maybe I'll start asking the question just because I'm curious and I think it'd be a fun question. How many of those bands would take back those $500,000 videos and make a $10,000 video?
Oh, yeah, right now, sure.
I mean, how many? And I don't mean the big bands. I'm talking about how many of the Kick Tracys of the world would have loved to take it. I think I heard that the singer of that band once say that they spent $200,000 on that video for No Rules, and that song didn't sell 200 copies.
No,
that band was lousy, and and they spent $200,000 on a video.
Well, I mean,
having that back.
Well, I think back then, videos, that was the way, right? If you had a good video, you had to, you wanted to get on MTV. So you wanted to put a lot of your money into a video so that MTV would pick it up. But a band like Kick Tracy, too, when they came out, that music was pretty much just about done anyway. I mean, it was.
Well,
it was
that's
right
the point. Is, them, all those bands put out these crazy expensive videos back in that day, the Dangers of the world, and Trickster, and Ugly Kid Joe, and every one of those bands is broke.
Yeah,
there's a direct correlation to that. They spent all their money to where they were deep in debt, and by the time their hits had run out, so too they were still a long way from paying back their debt.
And what happens when a band starts off, they start off doing okay, maybe make a little money, and then all of a sudden they go broke, they break up. I mean, they break up, and then so it's like, and that's kind of a lesson, right? These younger bands, look, don't worry. I don't should say even younger, just these newer bands, because a lot of these newer bands aren't really young. That's the one thing I'm learning too. But which I think benefits, because I think people, by the time they are in their 30s and 40s, they have a different outlook. But it's keeping it simple, man. It's that whole keep it simple, stupid thing.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple. Don't if the less you think about being a rock star, think about back in the days that metal and punk and all that, it was the antithesis of being a rock star. So they weren't even thinking about it. It was a total, it was a total rebellion against it. And because of that, that's why people liked them and everyone jumped on it because it was genuine. It came from a total genuine place.
Yeah. And just for the younger bands, don't spend so much money on a video.
Yeah.
You don't need an idea. You don't need a story. I'm gonna be honest. You need 4 iPhones on tripods.
Absolutely.
And go.
All you need. Go.
Set your iPod on 4K. Hit the button. Hire yourself a guy off of Fiverr for $500 to sync everything.
Mm-hmm.
Throw the track under it. And do a performance video.
Exactly.
That's all anybody wants to. That's all anybody's looking at. You know what?
Absolutely.
Without looking, and if anybody can do it, please email me and I'll send you a book or something. As long as you're not lying. Tell me the plot of any video that's current in the last 3 months. Any. Tell me the plot.
You got me, man. Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. No. There's how many videos released a week that we get the press releases for on YouTube? 50?
Yeah.
50 a week.
Sure.
In 3 months, what's that? 200, 600 videos. We can't name the plot to one of them.
I know.
That tells you something.
Well, I mean, video, like you said, a great point. All I want to see in a video is I want to see what the band members look like. I want to see that, how they present themselves, and I want to hear the music. It's as simple as that. I don't need Janie's Got a Gun. I don't need those kind of videos with a big story to it. And I mean, I that was the thing back in the day. Once those kind of videos came out, I started losing interest. It's like, and then they'd get professional actors and actresses, and it's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to hear the music, not the story. It's because they wanted to win an MTV Music Award. That was what it's all about, right back then. Right. So that's why they spent $300,000 on a video or whatever. You know what I mean?
I just want to see if the band looks like they're going to bring it live in case I decide to go see them bring it live.
Bingo.
That's
exactly.
it. If I see a video and they're just all standing there, okay, well, I'm not going to go see them. But dude, I'll tell you, one of my favorite bands that's out today, and they're a little bit of an older band, but they still bring it hard, and they're not known really at all. Is my favorite Sepultura clone, Ectomorph.
Okay, yeah,
but nobody knows who they are except me.
Pretty much.
But I love this band Ectomorph. They have like 10 albums. They're all fantastic. If you like, and again, this is that. Well, I like Sepultura. I wish somebody sounded like them. This is a band that you really would not know is not Sepultura unless you looked at them. But what do? They do all performance videos.
Nice.
They do them in a desert somewhere sometimes, but to have a little different background.
I love those videos. That's what it's all about.
Too.
Yeah.
But basically every video of them, just them rocking it. And
that's
it's like, and that's all they need. They've made a fan out of me just doing that.
Yeah. See, that's it. Keep it simple. Keep it to the music, and don't get too cute. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Cry6, that was a cool, humorous, video segments they have. Unless you can do something like that, okay, that's unique.
Yeah,
but
there's some that do it well. Like what's the other band? God damn it, Eric Kluber's band.
Void Vader. Yes,
Void Vader. They do. Funny
they do
videos.
too. They do. Yeah, I agree.
But for the most part, most of these bands. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you ain't that creative.
Well, you're not that funny either.
That's it. You're not that funny. You're not that creative, and you don't have enough money to pay somebody to make you look that creative. So don't do it.
Don't do it.
What you do well is play songs.
Yeah, find a location where you can go set up your instruments. Like you said, get 3 or 4 freaking iPhones. On
tripods or
whatever. On tripods.
Yeah,
and that's it. Record them all. Do the different angles, and that's it. You got yourself a video. That's all you need. We remember that band Duquesne that we did.
Yeah.
They did it with 2 iPhones. That's exactly what they did with 2 iPhones. They did it in some field in West Virginia. They got their cars, so the lights from their cars were used as the lighting. They just put them on, and that's all they did. It was a cool video, man. Because that was them too, in their element. That's what they would do. They'd hang out in a wooded area. They drink beer and do their thing, and so it was genuine as hell. That's who they are,
Right. And here's the marketing genius of doing it that way. iPhone, to Apple, send them your video. Tell them what you did.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Isn't that what they promote now anyway? Isn't that the commercials that they sell is like guys doing movies on their iPhones?
Yep.
They might actually use your video. Then you're going to be in a whole different ball game.
Mhm. Yep. No,
You
totally.
know?
Yeah.
So there's opportunity. I get to round this out,
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity for these younger bands, for these newer bands, and the bands have to step up. I honestly believe that guys like us have to step up,
Absolutely. Yeah,
and,
I do.
you
We
know,
do.
everybody has to step up and promote it. You can't just rely on the 30 and 40-year-old bands anymore because they are dying off, they are breaking up,
Mhm.
they are going away. And
Mhm.
and just to be honest about it, the ones that aren't kinda suck now.
I'm with you, man. I mean, I listen, I don't wanna see personally, man, I don't really want I mean, unless it's a classic band, I don't wanna see 60-year-old, don't get me wrong, like, you get all these thrash bands, the
Sure,
Exoduses and Testaments, they're still out there because 'cause they're putting out still really good music. So it's
sure.
great seeing them out there. I mean, it is, and I'll always,
Mhm,
but let's be honest, right? They're in their late 50s now. They're pushing 60.
yeah,
The time is, they probably got like around a decade left, if probably less than that.
probably.
5 to 10 years anywhere in that span,
Mhm.
playing this kind of music. Um, and we talk about this all the time about what's next, but I don't want to see, the 80-year-old freaking Rolling Stones. I don't want to see
No,
it's that time's over. I mean, I'm sorry. It's like, even when I went to see Black Crows, they sounded really good.
sure,
But they're another band too. It was like I'll be honest with you, I was just as excited seeing Dirty Honey because
sure.
they're the new band, and
Mhm,
they just the way they did a show, you could see the energy's different, than Black Crows is, like I said, I get it. They're aging, it's just tougher.
mhm.
They don't have as much energy on there. They're already successful too. They're not as hungry.
Yeah,
This is definitely a tour to make money with the Shake Your Money Maker, playing the whole
mhm,
album. So it's the Dirty Honeys that know they got to go out there and kick ass
yeah,
and build up their fan base. And look, me and you, this was, both of us are the same, mentality where we want to see those bands, those young
yeah,
hungry bands. I don't. I mean, to me, it was great watching the Black Crows, but I was just as excited to see Dirty Honey as I was the Black Crows.
yeah,
It
dude.
was.
I went when I saw Dirty Honey when they opened for Slash, and
Mhm.
they weren't announced.
Okay.
It was before they were even really known, and the only reason I knew about them at all was because I was interviewing Mark from the band literally the next day.
Oh
I
wow.
had an
Okay.
interview scheduled the next day to interview him.
Okay.
And so we walked into the venue and we, I'm gonna be honest, we tried to time it in right for the start of the show.
Uh
Like
huh.
I had called ahead to find out when to Slash hit the stage.
Okay.
Found out, got there 5 minutes before that, and they said, "Oh, there's an opening band." And I was like, "Motherfuck." I was like, "This blows." And
Uh-huh.
then we walked in, I saw the big old Dirty Honey, well,
Logo. Yeah.
curtain, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, this is gonna rule." And my friends were like, "Who the hell is Dirty Honey?" And I was like, "Oh, you'll see, you'll see." And literally when they started, it was at the, Roxino, which is a MGM casino,
Okay.
and I think it holds like 2,500 or 3,000 or whatever.
Mm.
There was one person in the entire room standing up when Dirty Honey started. Me.
You.
Everybody else sitting on their ass,
Mhm.
hands like this, all
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
like they're pissed off, like I was, because they didn't
Yeah.
want an opening band. They thought it was
Uh-huh.
just gonna be 2 hours of Slash. And by the end of it, everybody's up in their seats, jamming, clapping, dancing. Everybody was into it because they have that kind of energy that we have not, that truthfully the 90s took away.
Mhm.
The 90s with grunge, and then honestly, most of the bands of the 2000s did not bring super energy that they shared with the audience. I mean, a
I
band like
agree.
Korn had a lot of energy, but
Mhm.
they kept it on the stage. They didn't like encourage, they didn't even talk to the crowd. They
Mhm.
just came out, did their thing. And obviously a band like Disturbed, you could screw David Draymond's feet to the floor and he wouldn't care because he doesn't move anyway on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, those types of bands, they
It
didn't interact.
Yeah, well, they came from over a place of anger
Yeah.
and that kind of aggression where, like you
Mhm.
said, the 80s was more of like a party, let's
Right.
have a good time atmosphere,
Mhm.
yeah. Mhm.
And this the new wave, a lot of these bands that I've seen, the newer ones, they do tend to have that energy,
Mhm.
that drive to connect with the crowd,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that's been missing. And
Yeah.
it's an element that people could use to, to make some noise.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is, when I do, and just quickly, like you said, we'll start wrapping this up, but when I see the bands that grab me, these younger bands, are the ones that know how to get on stage and to put on a show.
Sure.
You know, anybody can get up there, play a great set. You know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
fine. But all the all the bells and whistles and the extras you do, like when Dirty Honey was on there, I remember it was like they would introduce, okay, here's so and so the bassist, and he'd go up and start playing a bass solo. I mean, sort of like they
Yeah.
used to do back in the old days.
Mhm.
It was another band I saw a couple of years ago called Great Electric Quest. They're out of San Diego. They're one of those sort of like new wave of traditional heavy metal bands. And they got a huge ovation in San Jose here. It was at this sort of mini festival they had. High on Fire played,
Okay.
Big Business, a couple of big name bands. March Generator was there. And dude, they could because they were getting on speakers, jumping off. I mean, it was like an old school,
Sure.
metal show. And it was I don't even think people really were so much focused on their music. It
Mhm.
was the show. It was how much fun it was watching them do things that I hadn't seen a band do in a long time
Sure.
since, the old days of the Judas Priest and all that stuff. So, it's got to be more than just getting up there playing music. You know what I mean? I think it's like if you really want to gain that kind of audience, you got to put on an actual show, move around. I mean, Glitter Wizard, that was another band I saw. Great
Sure.
show they put on, entertaining, funny, great music, everything. Got it all. They had the
Mhm.
costumes, everything. So, I mean, I think that's something that's that also if bands really want to, I guess, take that next step, that's something that needs to be worked on because that's something we saw all the time in the 80s and the 70s was the great
Right.
showmanship, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
hopefully it comes back.
healthy. But anyway, all right, man. Well, this has been fun. Back
Mhm.
to doing Aftershocks Tremors again. And
Absolutely.
anything else we want to end with here before we wrap it up?
No, just stay tuned to us, cmspn.com or aftershockstv.com or heavymetaltelevision.net or anywhere else. We're everywhere. So, but
Absolutely.
those are probably the big three. If you go to one of those, you'll find everything we're doing.
Awesome. All right. Remember, we're doing this every week now, so you gotta get used to hearing our voices and seeing our beautiful faces here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so awesome. All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. Peace.